Okay.
Hey, baby. You like Skittles?
No.
You don't like Skittles? You like fruit?
Mommy.
Mommy, okay.
2159. Mommy.
You want to watch some YouTube? You like watching Mickey Mouse?
Mommy.
Huh?
Mommy.
March 19th, 2023, Navarre, Florida. A young father returns home from grocery shopping with his 4-year-old daughter, excited about finally getting to spend time with her after nearly a year apart. But waiting in the shadows is someone with a gun, one shot to the face. The little girl sits beside her father's body, asking why he won't wake up. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was revenge, cold, calculated, and orchestrated by the one person who should have protected that child above all else. Tonight, we're examining the case of Colby Vinson, a murder born from custody court rage that ended with 2 people spending the rest of their lives behind bars. Welcome back to Dark Crime Evidence. I'm your host, and this is where we dive deep into real criminal cases, examining the facts, the evidence, and the investigation that brought killers to justice. If you're new here, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. And if you appreciate the research that goes into these videos, leave a like. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the case. Colby Sue Vinson was just 24 years old when his life was cut short. He lived in Navarre, a quiet coastal town in Santa Rosa County, Florida. The kind of place where people move to escape the chaos of bigger cities. Colby was a young father trying to build a life for himself and his daughter. His daughter, just 4 years old at the time, was the center of his world. But for nearly a year, Colby had been kept from her. The child's mother, Rachel Moore, had full custody, and according to friends and family, she wielded that power with control and anger. Rachel Moore was 27 years old, living her own life while maintaining complete control over the custody arrangement. But in March of 2023, that control was challenged in court, and she didn't take it well. On March 13th, 2023, a judge made a ruling that would change everything. After a custody hearing, Colby Vinson was granted 50-50 custody of his daughter. For the first time in nearly a year, he would get to be a real father again. It was a moment of relief, joy, and hope. But for Rachel Moore, it was a moment of fury. According to investigators, Moore was livid. She didn't want to share custody. She didn't want Colby in her daughter's life.
So we went to court, and the judge had a death in the family, and it got moved up. And then my side of the case wasn't even allowed to be seen in the court. And then they told me 50-50 sharing, and I said, okay. And then I showed up, I dropped my kid off, and then at midnight, I'm getting a call saying, hey, answer the front door. And I answer the door, and there's deputies saying, hey.
And in the days that followed, she allegedly began planning something unthinkable. She reached out to someone she knew would help her, no questions asked. Jason Curtis, 53 years old, a man from Alabama with a violent past. He wasn't just a random acquaintance, he was Moore's former stepfather. And according to prosecutors, he was willing to kill for her. A judge in Florida grants Colby Vinson 50-50 custody of his 4-year-old daughter. It's a legal victory, but it sets a deadly chain of events in motion. According to court testimony, Rachel Moore immediately begins expressing anger and frustration to those around her. She doesn't want to share her daughter. She wants full control, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to keep it. Over the next several days, Moore allegedly makes contact with Jason Curtis in Alabama. Prosecutors would later present evidence showing that she sent him critical information. Colby Vinson's photograph, his home address, details about his vehicle, and even gas money to make the 5-hour drive from Alabama to Florida. Curtis, according to investigators, agreed to carry out the murder. He armed himself with a .38 caliber revolver and began the long drive south. It's a Sunday afternoon. Colby Vinson takes his daughter grocery shopping, a normal, happy moment between father and child. They return to his apartment at Cayo Grande. Apartments in Navarre around mid-afternoon, but someone is waiting. Jason Curtis is parked nearby, watching. He knows what Colby looks like. He knows what vehicle he drives. And when Colby pulls into the parking lot with his daughter in the car, Curtis makes his move. As Colby steps out of the vehicle, Curtis approaches. There's no conversation, no warning, just one shot, fired directly into Colby's face at close range. Colby Vinson collapses to the ground, mortally wounded. His 4-year-old daughter is still in the car, just feet away. She doesn't understand what's happening. She climbs out and sits beside her father's body, asking him to wake up. Curtis flees the scene, driving back to Alabama. Neighbors hear the gunshot. Someone calls 911. When deputies from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office arrive, they find a horrific scene. A young man lying dead in the parking lot and a small child sitting next to him, confused and traumatized. Colby Vinson is pronounced dead at the scene. The little girl is unharmed physically, but what she witnessed that day will stay with her forever. Detectives immediately begin working the case. They interview witnesses, pull surveillance footage, and start tracing Colby's recent history. And very quickly, one name rises to the top of the suspect list: Rachel Moore. Why? Because just 6 days earlier, she had lost primary custody of her daughter. And according to investigators, she had motive, means, and opportunity, or at least she knew someone who did. Within days, investigators identified Jason Curtis as the shooter. Phone records, financial transactions, and witness statements paint a clear picture of conspiracy. On March 25, 2023, both Rachel Moore and Jason Curtis are arrested and charged with first-degree premeditated murder. Let's break down the key pieces of evidence that tied these two suspects to the murder. Evidence number 1. Digital communication. Prosecutors presented evidence showing extensive communication between Rachel Moore and Jason Curtis in the days leading up to the murder. According to court testimony, Moore sent Curtis photographs of Colby Vinson, his home address, and information about his vehicle. She also allegedly sent him money for gas to make the trip from Alabama to Florida, a 5-hour drive. This wasn't a spontaneous act. It was planned, coordinated, and deliberate. Evidence number 2. Financial transactions. Financial records showed that Moore transferred money to Curtis shortly before the murder, allegedly to cover the cost of gas and other expenses related to the trip. Prosecutors argued this was direct proof of conspiracy and premeditation. Evidence number 3. Ballistics and the murder weapon. The weapon used in the murder was identified as a .38 caliber revolver. According to investigators, Curtis was in possession of this firearm at the time of his arrest. Ballistics testing confirmed that the bullet recovered from the scene matched the weapon. Evidence number 4. Surveillance footage. Surveillance cameras at the Cayo Grande apartments captured portions of the incident. While the footage didn't show the shooting itself, it showed a vehicle matching the description of Curtis's car in the area around the time of the murder and leaving shortly after. Evidence number 5. The custody ruling as motive. Perhaps the most damning piece of evidence was the timeline itself. Just 6 days before Colby Vinson was murdered, Rachel Moore lost her exclusive custody arrangement. Prosecutors argued that this was the triggering event, the moment Moore decided that if she couldn't have full control of her daughter, Colby wouldn't have any control at all. So what drives someone to do this? To take the life of the father of their child, and to do it in front of that child? Criminal psychologists who have studied cases like this point to several factors: control, rage, and entitlement. In custody disputes, some individuals view their children not as human beings with their own needs, but as possessions. When a court takes away that possession, it can trigger extreme reactions. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, family court disputes are a known risk factor for domestic violence and homicide. When one party feels they are losing control, the risk of violence increases significantly. In this case, prosecutors argued that Rachel Moore couldn't accept the court's decision. She didn't just want primary custody, she wanted total control. And when that was taken away, she allegedly decided that murder was the solution. Jason Curtis's role is equally disturbing. As Moore's former stepfather, he had a pre-existing relationship with her, one that apparently included a willingness to commit murder on her behalf. Whether he was motivated by loyalty, money, or some other factor remains unclear. But what is clear is that he pulled the trigger, ending Colby Vinson's life in an instant. On April 2025, Rachel Moore was convicted of first-degree premeditated murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jason Curtis had been convicted earlier, in 2024, and received the same sentence. Justice, in the legal sense, was served. But for Colby Vinson's family, and especially for his daughter, no sentence can undo what happened. A little girl lost her father in the most traumatic way imaginable. She will grow up knowing that her mother orchestrated his death. Colby Vinson was just 24 years old. He had his whole life ahead of him. He had just won the right to be a real father to his daughter, and that right was stolen from him by the two people who should have cared about that child's well-being above all else. This case is a reminder of how dangerous custody disputes can become, and how rage, entitlement, and control can lead to unthinkable violence. Thank you for watching Dark Crime Evidence. If this case affected you, please leave a comment below, respectfully. Let's honor Colby Vinson's memory by keeping the conversation thoughtful and compassionate. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into real criminal cases. Until next time, stay safe.